Hypnosis can be used to help change a belief, to help somebody become more confident, be less anxious, less depressed, overcome a fear and addiction. So if I could use hypnosis in that way to help you to make a positive change in your life, what would I do to make that happen?
I'm working on day by day, minute by minute, moment by moment, living from a place of love instead of fear.
That's great.
And it's been a practice. And some days I do better than others. Some moments I do better than others. So if you could help me with that belief and that mindset, that would be something I would love to work towards.
Absolutely. So what's holding you back, or what's stopping you from fully living in that love mindset versus the fear mindset?
I think pre-programming, wiring from my childhood.
Okay.
A scarcity-based belief system that life is tough, the world's a tough place, and we have to do everything we can to attain money, resources, to get ahead, to keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
And it's just unwiring that, I think. Still, it's been a long process.
Okay. Where are you at in that process right now to unwire it?
I feel very, I've done a lot of work, and I feel really good about living from a place of abundance right now, and not living from fear.
Okay.
But occasionally it does come up, and what I've really been able to achieve is observing that when it does come up and recognizing, oh, this is fear. This is a fear-based disposition that I have right now, and trying not to attach to that. But it's a process, man. It's a practice.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
And so through that, now there's still those moments of sort of fear rearing its ugly head and kind of coming out. What do you think needs to happen for you to make that happen either far less or not at all, where you're completely living in that love space?
You know, I kind of recognize that I don't know if it will ever completely go away. I think fear is something that we've evolved to have as humans to keep us safe, to keep us from getting eaten by that tiger, or
by the mammoth or the tiger, right?
Or
Exactly.
starving, or there is a certain amount of fear that is necessary to keep us alive. Nowadays, it might be that car is coming at me really fast.
Get out of the way, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's ever going to go away completely, but I'm still moving towards a place where I can live a little bit more from love, especially with relationships and with myself. So to answer your question, I don't know if it'll ever completely go away, but I'm still hopeful that I'll move in the right direction.
Yeah. And what fear really is, which is, you're absolutely true in what you're saying, and we don't want it to go away, because a little bit of fear is healthy. Because fear actually drives us out of our comfort zone. It drives us into what's new, into what's uncertain. And when we chase a little bit of that fear, that's what helps us to grow and become more than we already are. Because fear is really just that signal, that action signal telling us, wait a minute, something here is scary. Whether it's something that's dangerous, move out of the way, we don't want to get hit by the car, or whether it's, hey, this opportunity to take this new chance or this new risk or this new opportunity to move across the country, take a new job, follow my passion, start a relationship with this person, whatever it is, it's always scary because it's unknown. But if we completely get rid of that fear, we're eliminating our ability to go after that new possibility that's just outside of our comfort zone, because a little bit of fear is actually good because it motivates us to take that step. Because we should chase the fear. We shouldn't chase the terror, but we should chase the fear, because the fear creates that adrenaline and actually creates the feeling of being alive.
Absolutely.
Because without that, we're just boring and monotonous and going through the motions day to day. But when we have that feeling of fear keeping us alive, then it's not one or the other. It's not, hey, it's either love or it's fear. It's actually this little bit of fear that allows us to live out of love, because that little bit of fear keeps us on our toes, it keeps us alive, it keeps us spontaneous, it keeps us fresh, and it keeps us chasing after and not getting old. Because they're just saying, we don't get old because we stop playing because we get older, not the other way around, right?
Absolutely.
And so that little bit of fear keeps us playing, it keeps us moving, it keeps us growing. So it's not that you need to get out of the fear and into the love. Maybe it's that you need to let that fear stay in a healthy way, not getting out of control into terror where it's paralyzing fear and it keeps you from moving, but a little bit of fear is actually healthy, because then it drives you towards where you need to go. But that little bit of fear that's powered by love is that sweet spot where you want to be, because that fear keeps you moving, it keeps you growing, it keeps you going, but then that love makes sure you're out of the right place and you're not reckless, you're not doing things selfishly, you're doing it for the good of yourself and for the good of the planet and for other people, and doing it out of that space that makes an impact and difference with your life. But that fear keeps it exciting. It keeps it interesting.
I agree.
It makes it less boring. And so part of really what's happened is the current hypnosis of your mind, like you said, that scarcity mindset of being afraid of there not being enough, or that life's tough or is not good enough. But then also even now, as you've been trying to break into this new reality of love over fear, we want love over fear, but we don't want to get rid of the fear. But the old hypnosis in your brain, this old belief that's telling you that the fear is negative, which is sort of the old extreme of the current belief growing up, of fear is the model because life is tough and it's bad and terrifying, versus no, we want to just get rid of that altogether, but we want to find that healthy balance of that little fear keeps you alive and it makes you feel alive. And that's what we're here to do, is to feel alive and help others feel alive and make a difference with our life. And so we can have that balance and break that old hypnosis of that old belief doesn't really serve you to completely get rid of the fear. We want just enough of it that can help you to be the best that you can be, that can help you feeling alive, help you feeling motivated, help you feel driven, even just in doing this, right? A little bit of fear of hypnosis, what? This is different, this is weird. But having just enough of it to say, sure, let's do it. Try this new thing, try this new experience, and helping you to become more alive through that sensation. And so already through this conversation and through the way that your brain is already beginning to shift, right? You said the pathways need to shift in your brain. They actually had just overshifted. But now through this conversation and through this new idea of the way that fear actually creates a healthy balance, it's recompensating in the way that it needs to. It over-adjusted, but now it's shifting in a way that's just right to give yourself exactly the amount of fear that will help you to be motivated, to stay alive, to stay hungry, and to have that feeling of aliveness, but knowing that that love is still way more powerful than that fear and is driving you to where you need to be to make an impact, to make a difference, to serve this world and yourself and live a life that's worth living. But knowing that that pathway that used to be overcompensated from too much fear to not enough has now shifted exactly in the way that it needs to be to create just enough fear to allow you to be alive. And now when you can be alive and still fueled by primarily love, then anything's possible.
That's the practice.
That's the practice.
That's the balance.
Exactly.
I hope.
Yeah. But not just being able to hope to have that new feeling, but being able to internalize it. Because a belief is still a belief if all we do is believe it. But once we actually start practicing it and experiencing it, that's when it can become our reality. Sort of like if I were to say, hey, your feet right now are completely stuck to the sand, stuck to the ground, you can't move them. If you only ever have it as a belief in your head, then nothing happens. But if you choose to create that belief into your experience and allow it to become part of your reality, you could believe that so much that if you actually tried to take a step forward, you would find that you'd be stuck by choosing to hold on to that belief. Even now, if you allow yourself to test that belief and find that if you really believe your feet to be stuck, you can't move them, for a moment you had that belief and then you shifted into a different belief that said you can move them, right? Because your mind has a decision to make. And you showed yourself that you can move them, but what happens if you show yourself that you can't? And you allow yourself to remain on that belief that you couldn't move them, and now if you were to try this time, you would notice that by choosing to stay on this belief that you can't move them, they stay stuck. Even as you actually try to move them, you notice that they're stuck. Until you shift out of that old belief, right? And see, that's just what your brain has done before, though. You want this belief of having a healthy balance of fear and love, where you have just enough fear to make you feel alive and motivated, but your brain does exactly what it just did. It says, wait, I want the old belief of too much fear, not enough fear. And that's why it doesn't produce the result, because the belief needs to be translated into experience. And it's not that I'm controlling your mind to experience more or less fear or controlling you to be stuck. It's simply that I'm giving you the control back. I'm giving you the permission to have that control. And at any time your brain chooses to go with the belief and not doubt it, because even as I say your feet are stuck, your mind immediately goes to the opposite belief of, wait a minute, I'm going to prove that I can't. And because of the way that you mentioned you grew up with sort of this old conditioned belief that Fear is good because life is tough and it's hard and it kind of keeps you safe and you need it for survival, gets you ahead. That's the belief that's been reinforced. But in order to create a new experience, you have to be able to reinforce a new belief. Towards even right now, you know that you're not paralyzed and you could always move anytime you want to. But to prove to yourself that you could create a new belief to change your experience, right now, if you told yourself that you were actually stuck and didn't doubt it and didn't second guess it, what happens if you try to move now by becoming so congruent on that belief that there's no doubt? Now notice what happens if you actually try to move and you find that you can't because you've allowed yourself to become so rooted in that belief. All same thing. You allowed yourself to go back to the old belief. But if you keep going back to the old belief, you'll go back to the old behaviors, back to the old result.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There was a moment where I believed it, and I thought, okay, let's test it. And then I stepped.
But to test it, you didn't have to give up the old belief, but your mind assumed that to test it, it had to go back to the old belief. What happens this time if you believe it? You believe that you're stuck. But this time, instead of testing it with the opposite, test it with the current belief to prove this current belief. You don't have to let go of the old one, but you can grasp onto a new one that opens up more possibilities. It's not that you lose control, it's that you gain more control. And this time, without having any doubt of an old belief, holding on completely to this new belief that you can be stuck if you choose and decide to be stuck. Now notice what happens if you test it, but test it by focusing on the new belief. Getting closer, you're getting there. Same thing though. What happened there?
I felt grounded, I felt heavy, I thought, okay, I might be stuck. And then I said, let's take a step forward with the belief that maybe I'm stuck. And I was able to step forward.
Yeah, because the belief that maybe you're stuck is not going to make you stuck.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm stuck means, okay, I'm really not. Let's prove myself that I'm not.
Yeah.
A maybe belief gets you nowhere. In fact, a maybe belief is worse than I am stuck or I'm not because it flounders. There's no maybe I'm stuck. I am stuck. And nothing can get me unstuck.
Okay.
Now you know at any time, right, if a bomb goes off and you need to run away, yes, you can shift out of that old belief and get unstuck. It's not that you're paralyzing yourself forever, but it's proving to yourself in this moment that you can create a new belief. Not for the sake of being stuck, but for the sake of proving to your mind that if you believe something with enough certainty, without any shadow of a doubt, it can become real. And if you can do it with your feet becoming stuck, you can do it with your mind shifting into a healthy balance of love and fear to live the life that you want. But if you can't do it with the simple just having your feet stuck, how is your mind ever supposed to create the even bigger belief of allowing your mind to be in the exact space and wiring it needs to live a fully alive and satisfied life?
I understand that, yeah.
So to prove to yourself, not to me or anything else, or to prove how good I am, but to prove in your own mind of the ability you already have, because that's all hypnosis is it's not me doing anything to you, but it's me helping you to unlock what's already there, helping you to take back the control of your own mind. And so if you create a belief, not that you're maybe stuck, but that you really are, and you tell yourself there's no other alternative, you really are stuck. And if you actually were to try to test it and were to try to take a step, you'd find that the more you try to move, the more stuck you get. The more you try to become unstuck, the further stuck you get. You can create that belief. Do you feel you can create that belief?
I do.
You do? You didn't sound confident enough saying that you did.
I was going to say I'm going to try, but then I realized
exactly. You're not going to try.
I do believe that I can create a new belief that my feet are stuck to the sand.
Okay. So create that belief right now. Your feet have become stuck to the sand, and you can't move them. But it's more than just pretending they're stuck, but it's allowing yourself to get into the state of pretending they're stuck, but then pretending you're not pretending until the new pretend, the old pretend becomes the old reality that is now the current reality of your feet becoming stuck. Did you create that new belief?
I did.
You did? Now notice what happens if you put it to the test and find that the belief is still there. What happens if you try to take a step forward and notice that you can't?
I'm stuck.
You're stuck? If you actually try to move and you find that you can't,
I'm stuck.
you stay stuck. That's right. Even if your eyes are open, you can still try to move and stay stuck, because whether your eyes are open or closed, it's just a belief. And when you hold on to that belief, that creates the experience.
I'm stuck.
You're stuck. But you're only stuck as long as you decide to stay stuck. If you said, for the rest of my life, I want to stay here and be stuck, you could. Probably wouldn't be that helpful of a belief to have, right? But you could if you chose to. So, knowing that the mind is that powerful and that you can create any belief as long as you want it to, you don't need to create the belief that you're stuck any longer, because you proved to yourself that you can do it. This is just temporarily. But if you can prove to your mind you can create any belief you want temporarily, it can also create any belief it wants long term. And when it creates a belief like that, that is your reality, then it can start to shift its mind in a way that creates a new reality, to have the balance of just enough fear to make you feel alive, but fueled by enough love to make you live with passion, and a life that's fulfilling, purpose and meaning, and life on your terms, and one that you want to live that makes an impact and difference on the world. That's what it's all about. But it's not that I control you to do that. It's that you can control yourself to do that, because your mind is that powerful. You've believed something in the past that wasn't true, that fear is necessary for survival and you need to be afraid and life is tough. It doesn't matter if it's not true, your mind believed it as if it was. It didn't matter if you weren't really stuck, your mind believed it as if it was. Your mind has a history of believing things that may or may not be true and experiencing them as if they are. And so it's time for you to just take back that power and take back that control, to say, instead of letting the beliefs happen to me, I get to decide what beliefs I want. I get to decide what beliefs I live in. I need just enough fear to be alive, to feel alive. But then I need enough love to drive me forward into that life of meaning and impact. But it's not outside of your control. It's not something that has to do with the past or old beliefs or old wiring or conditioning. You get to decide how your mind gets wired and conditioned. You get to decide what beliefs drive you.
Absolutely.
And when you have that power, anything's possible.
It's a new paradigm.
It's a new paradigm. And with that new paradigm, the ball's in your court. The control's in your hands. You get to make your life the way you want it.
I received that message, Zach. Thank you.
All right?
Now it's time to practice that.
Time to
Now
practice
it's time
it.
to believe that.
Time to take it from a belief into an experience. Just like your belief of being stuck became your experience of being stuck, you get the new belief. Now it's time to live it.
Can I have a hug, Zach?
Absolutely, my friend. Hope that was helpful for you.
That was real.
That's what it's all about.